voice this morning, then it means you're tuned into the frequency meter of Unity 93.3. And of course, it is still that your most anticipated political and socio-economic program on the radio, the Unity Train. By the special grace of God, this morning I am blessed to be graced with the presence of one of our barrister. There's a lot to talk about this morning. The newspaper headlines are filled with rich content that I know you would want to lend your voice to. One of it is the Senate Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct and Public Petition throughout Mrs. Akpoti's Oduagan's petition, saying the matter was already a subject of litigation. The petition was written by Mr. Zubairu Yakubu, one of the senators Akpoti's Oduagan's constituent. Do you think throwing out this petition just because it is a matter of litigation is the appropriate thing to do?
I don't think throwing it was the right thing to do. In my humble view, the appropriate thing to do is to suspend any issue relating to the petition before the House Committee on Ethics until the determination of what is in court. I know that, yes, once a matter is in court, it's sub judice for any committee to sit on it. You know, the outcome of the court will now determine whether it has already trashed out the actual merit of the matter that is before the House of Assembly. After the outcome of the matter in court, the House of Assembly will look at the court process. The National Assembly, sorry, the Senate House, will look at the content, and then the Ethics Committee will now say, okay, this content directly relates to what we are dealing on. It is at that point that they will either terminate their proceeding or not. But for now, the appropriate thing is to adjourn it sine die. You know, but unfortunately, they threw it out. It is also like a kind of victimization because someone is in court. So you didn't give him the opportunity to ventilate himself even before the Ethics Committee. And you know, in the event that the substance of the matter directly relates to what the Ethics Committee of the Senate are sitting on, they will definitely not do anything about it because it is they cannot sit as an appellate quorum relating to the decision of the High Court. So the appropriate thing they would have done is to adjourn their own proceeding sine die, you know, until the final determination of what is happening in court. Then I think that would have solved the whole issue. They can also play the role of an arbiter, or if you like, they can play the role of arbitration. Both the Senate President, Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan, they are all privileged senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. One is just more privileged because he is elected to be the Senate President. The Ethics Committee, as the name implies, if they are actually Ethics Committee, they can come in between and try to foster a solution, an amicable resolution to it. So they have so many responsibility. It is not really an adversary approach that will really necessarily solve the problem. But they can also come in and say, okay, as Ethics Committee of the Senate, let's find a way of resolving the matter. So throwing it out will also deny them or rob them of that opportunity to settle the matter by means of alternative dispute resolution. So be that as it may, I don't like dwelling so much on this issue of Senate and whatever, because I feel that Nigeria is having more pressing issue, a more urgent issue, than this issue of Oduaghan and Senator Natasha. What brought about this fight is on sitting arrangement. That was the beginning of, that was the trigger. So if I think if sitting arrangement is an issue, that is an ego fight. It is egocentric battle. So I think Nigeria have more pressing problem, like a very major military camp, and we lost so many soldiers. These are pressing national issues, not those that are fighting over sitting arrangement, where to sit and how to sit. For Christ's sake, these seats are the same. They are designed the same. So it's ego, it's pride. So how does it add value to our democracy? You are fighting over sitting arrangement.
Actually, a lot of this conversation, we have a lot of this conversation just to keep Nigerians abreast and help them have an understanding of how these things work.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. There is another interesting issue: a bill to strip the president and the governors of powers to proclaim a new session of the national and state houses of assembly was among the titles is seeking reform of the nation's electoral system to ensure, among others, that all litigations ended before the inauguration of election winners. Do you see the possibility of bills like this seeing the light of the day?
You know, I have said it for some of us. We felt that there are some judges that are really standing out that we really need to encourage them. That is why I don't want to say that the judiciary has completely become a stooge in the hand of the executive. And another angle to it is that the process of appointment of the chief judge also has also make it is usually based on seniority. So it has also make it very difficult for the executive to interfere so much. Even though you remember during the Buhari Day Justice Onogen's time, Buhari interfered. Justice Onogen was the most senior, and the Judicial Council has already recommended him, but President Buhari refused to approve his appointment for reasons best known to him, or if you like, for obvious reasons. But be that as it may, and the senior advocate of Nigeria also deemed it necessary to follow the due process, and he eventually appointed Onogen as the CJN. That didn't go down well with Buhari. Immediately he returned to the hospital. He hit Justice Onogen with a big stick, and that was also a clear-cut case of intervention. Now, you know, Mike Pedro, when some of us, during the so-called stint operation by the DSS against some senior judicial members, some of us were of the view that that operation was wrong. So many people said, oh, judges actually at that time was to kill the judiciary. And unfortunately, yes, he instilled fear in them, because as a judge before, you know, unfortunately, some senior lawyers, either based on political leaning or whatever regional sentiment and whatever, they were supportive today. It's only those judges that have conscience that can salvage Nigeria. But I am telling you, just like the legislative arm has become a marionette, or if you like, a mannequin. You know, a mannequin, a marionette can even be controlled with a string. But for a mannequin, you carry it with your hand, keep it there. If it finishes its function, you bring it back. That is what has become. So back to the issue of the bills. You know, that was how we render lip service and allow the executive to have excessive power. It is the excessive power of the executive that is really dealing a blow with our democracy. And once these powers, there is no checks and balances. And when I mean check and balances, not the kind of check that exists on paper. We need real checks and actual check.
Will this be possible without the independence of the judiciary? Yeah, we cannot have it without
an independent legislative arm. We cannot have that without an independent judiciary. You know, you remember the sting operation that Daura had when he was director of DSS against the National Assembly. That was also an approach to bridle them, you know, to suffocate them, you know, to quench that vibrancy of legislative function, you know. And then the same Oshibanjo dealt with Daura. He had to sack him, you know. That is discipline. That is how no arm of government, either DSS, police. Okay, if DSS have the power to go to the house of a judge in the guise of sting operation or simply because he's corrupt. Now, can you take, if a DSS arrests you arbitrarily and detain you, where will you go and ventilate your grievance, particularly if you are a poor man? Is it not before these judges?
Of course.
And if the judge, if you sue a DSS before a judge, how can the judge look at that case? With fear.
With fear, of course.
That was why some of us were saying it was wrong. The Constitution is clear. We are not saying that judges had immunity, but we are saying that the law have already made provision on how to deal with erring judges. These provisions must be followed. But unfortunately, some people were, what was doing is right, they were corrupt. You don't use mendacious propaganda under the guise of corruption to do such executive lawlessness and rascality. And you can see the ripple effect that we are having today. Look at, particularly if elections is approaching, look at the kind of judgment we are getting. It's because already the executive under Buhari regime have succeeded. And as long as democracy is concerned, that was gross incompetence. When you say you are a Democrat and then you kill the legislative arm, you kill the executive arm. I remember during Saraki's time, I stated here in this studio that the Saraki's Senate was one of the best when it comes to enhancing the independence of the legislative arm of government. It didn't go down with so many colors, but just look at it, just take an X-ray of the Fourth Republic from Obasanjo era up to today, the 8th Assembly. The 8th Assembly is the best. We are still saying this without any fear of equation that the Sarakis is the best in terms of enhancing the independence of the legislature. Whatever reason may have made them to uphold the independence of the legislative arm is best known to them, but for the interests of Nigeria, the judiciary is supposed to be independent, the executive is supposed to be independent, even the legislative arm of the local government is supposed to be independent. But my Pedro, you and I agree that they are not all independent, and it's not also healthy for our democracy. The ugliness of democracy
becomes very visible in the absence of the checks and balance.
Yes.
When there's no checks and balance, democracy becomes something else. Obasanjo, in his speech in the Kodikwam held the day before yesterday, it was the day before yesterday at Emeka Ihedioha's birthday, made a statement about the Nigeria's democracy, and he said the kind of democracy that we practice is not the ideal kind of democracy. We should have a democracy that is peculiar, that addresses our case as it is. The copy and paste kind of democracy that we practice has given room for a lot of things, and even the one that we borrowed, we don't practice it the best way we should.
It's very unfortunate when you mention copy and paste. Like for instance, in Plateau State, that is what we copied what they call case management conference, and we brought it in our criminal jurisprudence and in our civil jurisprudence. Now, I'm now looking at the judiciary. This case management, ideally supposed to fast track cases, but it is no longer fast tracking cases. How? Before, I have witnessed a case in High Court that the case was from the beginning to the end of the case, they spent about 2 months, 2 weeks, the case ended. It was before Justice Longi. The records are there. Before the advent of case management. But today they say case management is 3 months. So that means you will not really afford, a case that can be determined within 1 month or 2 months cannot be determined. Now, for instance, in criminal cases, once the case is being mentioned, it will be adjourned ordinarily for hearing. But with the introduction of this case management, and if the prosecution is really ready, he can come with all his witnesses in the day that is adjourned for hearing. But with the introduction of this so-called case management today, you will see that a case that is immediately it is mentioned, instead of being adjourned for hearing, it will be adjourned for case management. And so the case management in itself is counterproductive. That is why, it's causing unnecessary delay. So that is where, just to buttress your point of copy and paste. When you are copying and paste, you look at your peculiarity. You look at the structure you have, whether your structure can really accommodate this thing. And then you also look at both the pros and cons in terms of advantages and other indices. But by the time you look at these overall indices, before you now begin to, you have to practically domesticate. But when you just copy and paste, on the issue of some of these bills you mentioned, the problems of Nigeria, I kept saying, is not bills or laws. And I said Nigerians, for Christ's sake, should stop putting pressure on our legislations to be making law, passing bills and whatever. I think that's not a problem. I think our focus should shift. How many laws do we have? When we're analyzing the 8th Assembly, they said that they passed over 900 and something bills into law. Is that the problem of this country? Go to lawyers' offices, you see a lot of no space in the world, because many laws, many this law, that law. But how many of them have we implemented? I think we should look at implementation now, not be creating laws that are only existing on papers and they are not really being implemented. You know, laws that will bring liberation, laws that will bring development, laws that will bring progress. Let us see how to implement them to bring development. Let us see how to implement them to bring the progress. Let us see how to implement them. Not that we making laws, bills and laws. Some of them, they are not even being implemented. The court have not even interpreted them. You are now bringing in another law to repeal that other law. So what is the essence? Wasting public money, making laws that are not really relevant. You know, they are not even driving the country progressively. You know, so like we are saying, if today I have a case against Tinubu, for instance, which judge will look at me and give me justice if the judges are not independent? An ordinary citizen of Nigeria can be able to sue the president and get judgment. I know people that have sued the government of Plateau State and they have gotten judgment. You understand? So if we don't have that in democracy, then we're not operating democracy. Then we're operating something else. So it is very important for the legislative arm and the judicial arm. And there's about them having a cat and mouse kind of lifestyle. There should be collaboration, there should be coordination, but also that collaboration and coordination shouldn't be for the bourgeois, for the interests of the bourgeois, but it should be for the interests of the citizenry and the national interests at large.
Actually. All right, the number for you to call is 07032353315. 07032353315. We're just going to pick one or two calls and hear from you. Unfortunately, we apologize that in recent time, due to the fact that we are managing just 30 minutes, we've not been able to pick your calls. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your name and where you're calling from? Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Unfortunately, we lost that call. It's like we have an issue with our network provider. Concentration on governance. Is this the democracy that will bring growth and development in Nigeria? Our eyes should be opened before 2027. Emi Longs from Agengi. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Micah. Good morning, Barrister in the house.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Who They Do Us, calling from Terminus.
Who They Do Us?
My brother, what I want to say this morning is about that and good work and people here are very good. Whether the Nigeria like it, that you take it and everything, but they have said it, what they have said is nothing but the truth. What I want to say is sure that but it's the highest thing, like the highest winner. This is my contribution this one. Thank you. My best are come to better places.
Thank you, Who They Do Us. It is safe. I find it very pleasant to hear callers speak about the forthcoming election with the conviction that there's going to be a change come 2027. Because the truth is, our power is just in our ability to make decisions, and the only time we can make such decision is during an election. It's not just going out there to vote, but also ensuring that the vote is counted and it is the right person that is voted is given the mandate. Unfortunately, we are going to be leaving the studio. I said we're just going to pick two calls, and we have Barrister, your last words before we leave the studio.
Yes, just my last words. You know, usually we normally start at home, but time didn't afford us the well.
Yeah.
You know, and the governor said that the strategic partnership between Plateau State and Israel is focusing on agriculture, technology, medicine. He said these are the three key sectors that are vital to our development. So it's also a welcome development. The same on a related development also. Operation Rainbow has recruited over 600 people across the 17 local government. Plan is to enhance early warning signal and also strictly intelligence gathering. This is also a very good development in enhancing peace. You know, peace is priceless. In Plateau State, we have had the bitter pill of crisis. We don't want a repetition of that. And anything towards enhancing peace is a welcome development. I wish the Muslim Ummah a blissful Ramadan.
All right, thank you, Barrister. And from me to you, enjoy the rest of your day. See you tomorrow, same time, same station. God bless you. Bye.
Mr. Politician, it's good to see you again. It's been so long.